Good afternoon. This is All India Radio and I am VC Pramod with the Midday News. The headlines. Chandrayaan-2 inches closer to Moon. Fifth and final round of orbital maneuver between 6 to 7 this evening. Jammu and Kashmir Governor says culture and heritage of people will be preserved. Assures all-round development of the region. Restrictions removed in 11 more police station areas in Kashmir Valley. Situation fast returning to normal. New governors appointed in Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Telangana and Kerala. Get ready to pay higher penalties for traffic violations. Amended provisions of the Motor Vehicles Act come into effect from today. And in cricket, India in driver's seat against the West Indies in the second and final test match at Kingston in Jamaica. The National Space Agency ISRO is all set to carry out the final round of the orbit-reducing maneuver for Chandrayaan-2 this evening. The country's ambitious second lunar craft is set to reach a circular polar synchronous orbit around the moon after the operation. The crucial task would be performed by firing the engine on board the orbiter of Chandrayaan-2 as mentioned by the National Space Agency ISRO in a release. The new path of the lunar probe around the moon at a distance of 100 kilometers from its surface will pave the way for the separation of the lander Vikram from its orbiter. The lander carrying the rover Pragyan in its belly is scheduled to have its rendezvous with the lunar south pole on the 7th of September. Here's more from our correspondent.
Following this evening's lunar-bound orbit reduction maneuver, Chandrayaan-2 will enter into the next crucial phase. The composite Chandrayaan-2 consists of the orbiter, the lander and the rover. The lander will separate from the orbiter tomorrow. The ISRO has said the lander will undergo a couple of engine burns on its way to the moon's surface. The lander is planned to slither down and reach the surface at a speed of 2 meters per second. The ISRO literature says the rover will be unleashed later by the lander, which will move in a snail pace on the lunar surface, just 1 centimeter a second, on September 7. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
Our correspondent takes a look at India's space journey.
The space research activities were initiated during the early 1960s in India. With the live transmission of Tokyo Olympic Games across the Pacific by the American satellite, the founding father of Indian space program, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, quickly recognized the benefits of space technologies for the country. In 1967, the first experimental satellite communication Earth station was operationalized. Later, a TV program on agricultural information to farmers was started, which received good response. During this period, the first Indian spacecraft, Aryabhatta, was also developed. Another major landmark was the development of the first launch vehicle, SLV-3. In the 1980s, Bhaskara 1 and 2 missions were pioneering steps in the remote sensing area. In 1990s, development of Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle and Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle were significant achievements. In 2013, Mars Orbiter mission was launched, which made India the first Asian nation to reach Mars orbit. With Divakar, Suparna Sekya, AIR News, Delhi.
Jammu and Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik has assured that the rich culture and heritage of Ladakh will be protected. He said Ladakh will enter a new era of all-round development. Speaking in Leh, Mr. Malik said that jobs in government and seats in education institutions will be protected after creation of Ladakh as a union territory. Share in seats of Ladakh students meant for them will also remain. Mr. Malik said,
आपका कल्चर, आपका हेरिटेज, आपके रीति रिवाज, कोई भी चीज कोई छुएगा नहीं, उसकी पूरी तरह से सुरक्षा हो। आपके बच्चों के दाखिले की सीटें, आपके अफसरों की सीटें, उनमें कोई किसी किस्म की दखलंदाजी नहीं होगी।
Mr. Malik inaugurated a 4-day Ladakh festival in Leh Polo Grounds today. Earlier, cultural show in Polo Grounds to represent the vivid and colorful culture of the region was also held. In Jammu and Kashmir, following improvement in situation, the administration has eased restrictions in 11 more police stations in the Kashmir Valley. As of now, 82 out of 105 police stations have no restrictions. situation across the state, especially in Kashmir Valley, is fast returning to normal. People were seen moving in large numbers on roads, and the concentration of transport was high compared to the previous days. 29 more landline telephone exchanges were made functional in addition to 47 which are already operational. Now about 12,000 additional lines will be active. More from our correspondent.
Barricades have been removed from the roads in most of the areas of Srinagar city and elsewhere in Kashmir Valley to allow the movement of people. However, deployment of security forces continues on the ground to maintain law and order. Meanwhile, Chief of Army Staff General Bipin Rawat concluded his 2 days visit of the state, the first visit to the state after the abrogation of Article 370. During his visit, he visited forward areas to review prevailing situation and operational readiness of the units. R.K. Raina, AR News, Jammu.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said India is open to discussing outstanding issues other than Jammu and Kashmir bilaterally with Pakistan in an atmosphere free of terror and violence. In a series of tweets after meeting European Union Commissioner Christos Stylianides in Brussels yesterday, the minister said that he conveyed India's openness to discussing other outstanding issues with the neighbouring country. In his meeting with the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security, Federica Mogherini, the minister shared India's perspective on better governance and greater development in Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. He said he emphasized the need to renounce hostility, terror and violence by Pakistan to build normal neighbourly relations. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. President Ramnath Kovind today approved the appointment of new governors in Maharashtra, Kerala, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan and Telangana. Former Uttarakhand Chief Minister Bhagat Singh Koshyari has been appointed as the new governor of Maharashtra, while former Union Minister Arif Mohammad Khan will take the responsibility of Kerala governor. Former Union Minister and BJP leader Bandaru Dattatreya will be the new governor of Himachal Pradesh in place of Kalraj Mishra, who has been given the charge of governor of Rajasthan. Former Tamil Nadu BJP chief Dr. Tamil Sai Soundararajan is the new governor of Telangana. Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh today criticized the NDA government over current economic situation in the country, saying the state of the economy is worrying. He said the last quarter's GDP growth rate of 5% signals that India is in the midst of a prolonged slowdown. In a statement, Dr. Singh said the country's youth, farmers and farm workers, entrepreneurs and the marginalized sections deserve better. Meanwhile, BJP has hit back at Dr. Singh, alleging that the country's economy is still facing difficulties due to his government's wrong policies. Talking to AIR, party spokesperson Shahnawaz Hussain said the economic situation across the world is not good, but India is in a better position.
हमने इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन को ध्यान में रखते हुए बहुत से सुधार किए हैं और उन सुधारों का अब असर भी हो रहा है। इकोनॉमी मजबूत हो रही है। मिसमैनेजमेंट तो यूपीए गवर्नमेंट का था, एनडीए ने तो उनकी गलतियों को सुधारने का काम किया है।
Union Home Minister Amit Shah today dedicated a series of developmental projects at Silvassa, the headquarters of the Union Territories of Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Mr. Shah also laid the foundation stone for Education Hub at Zanda Chowk and Tokar Khada in Silvassa, which will come up at the cost of 61 crore rupees. This will cater to the educational needs of more than 15,000 students, which accounts for 27% of the total school students of the Union Territory. Project includes Paramedical Institute building at the cost of 8 crore rupees. Get ready to pay higher penalty for traffic violations now, as the amended provisions of the Motor Vehicles Act with hike in the penalty for traffic rule violations have come into force. As many as 63 clauses of the Act which correspond to increase in fine for traffic rule violation came into force from midnight last night. We have a report.
The fine for jumping red light has now been revised to 5,000 rupees from 1,000 earlier. Driving without wearing the seat belt, which earlier invited a fine of 100 rupees, will now attract a fine of 1,000 rupees. The The fine for rash driving has also been revised from 1,000 to 5,000 rupees. And if caught for drunken driving, one needs to cough up a hefty fine of 10,000 rupees. If a juvenile is caught driving a vehicle, his guardian and the owner of the vehicle will be deemed guilty. A steep fine of 25,000 rupees with imprisonment of up to 3 years will be levied on such defaulters. The registration of the vehicle will also be cancelled. Penalties have also been hiked for two-wheeler riders. Swati Rakheja, News Desk.
14th edition of the Conference of Parties COP14 to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification UNCCD begins at Greater Noida from tomorrow. This year the conference, which will go on till the 13th of this month, focuses on desertification and degradation of land. The main objective of the convention is to combat desertification and mitigate the effects of droughts in countries experiencing serious drought or desertification. Over 3,000 delegates from across the world will take part in COP14. Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change Prakash Javadekar had earlier this week highlighted India's resolve to combat desertification.
Our ministry has taken a target to restore 50 lakh hectares of land by 2030. So from degraded land, we will convert into a fertile land. So that is our main target, and we are also establishing one center of excellence in Dehradun to help the world to gear up the research and start learning from each other and making progress to combat desertification.
Eminent flute artist Guruvayur G.S. Sri Krishnan, a long-time associate of the flute genius T.R. Mahalingam, passed away in Bengaluru today. He was 83. Sri Krishnan, who had completed over 70 years in the field of music, joined All India Radio in 1954 and retired as station director in 1994. He received the Kerala Sangeet Natak Academy Award in 1985 and was declared as Fellow of the Academy in 1997. He received the prestigious Guruvayurappan Puraskaram in 2001. The Taliban launched an attack on a second Afghan city even as a United States envoy says the US and the Taliban are at the threshold of an agreement to end America's longest war. The spokesman for the Baglan province, Police Chief Javed Basharat said gun battles continued on the outskirts of its capital, Puli Khumri. There was no immediate word on any casualties. Meanwhile, Washington Special Envoy to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, said he was visiting Kabul today to brief the Afghan government on the details of a deal that is not yet final. China and the United States began imposing additional tariffs on each other's goods today, the latest escalation in a bruising trade war, despite signs that talks would resume sometime this month. A new round of tariffs took effect from early morning, with Beijing's levy of 5% on U.S. crude marking the first time the fuel has been targeted since the world's two largest economies started their trade war more than a year ago. Trump administration will begin collecting 15% tariffs on more than $125 billion in Chinese imports. In retaliation, China started to impose additional tariffs on some of the U.S. goods on its $75 billion target list. U.S. President Donald Trump has nominated Indian-American Shireen Matthews as a judge of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of California. Currently, Matthews is a partner at Jones Day, the fifth largest law firm in the country in San Diego. Article 3 judges hold their office during good behavior, which means they have a lifetime appointment except under very limited circumstances. In cricket, West Indies were 87 for 7 at stumps on day 2 of the second and final cricket test at Kingston in Jamaica. India were bowled out for 416 in their first innings on last night. The hosts are trailing India by a massive 329 runs. Bowler Jasprit Bumrah's hat-trick, Hanuma Vihari's maiden century and Ishant Sharma's maiden test 50 took India to a commanding position. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Chandrayaan-2 inches closer to Moon, fifth and final round of orbital maneuver between 6 to 7 this evening. Jammu and Kashmir Governor says culture and heritage of people will be preserved, assures all-round development of the region. Restrictions removed in 11 more police station areas in Kashmir Valley. Situation fast returning to normal. New governors appointed in Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Telangana and Kerala. Get ready to pay higher penalties for traffic violations. Amended provisions of the Motor Vehicle Act come into effect from today. And in cricket, India in driver's seat against the West Indies in the second and final test match at Kingston in Jamaica. And with that, we end the midday news.